Apologies. I'll blame one of your colleagues for me being a little bit behind.
Don't worry. I see that colleague coming in. Thank you, sir.
But good afternoon, everybody. Lincoln Saunders, Chief Administrative Officer for the city. I think I'm supposed to speak primarily to some of the updates I shared last week with members of City Council and that we have been trying to get the word out about, which is that in addition to working through several of the cases that, have been both in the public discourse and that many council members have reached out to our office about that we are working through resolutions on and can positively say we've had several of those accounts that have been positively resolved. We are additionally looking at all accounts that have current delinquencies or, outstanding balances, so to speak, in the meals tax category. What we are doing and what we wanted to be clear in our messaging about is that for those businesses that currently have a delinquency, we are freezing the penalty and interest so that there won't be any further accrual of that penalty and interest while we do a review. You've also heard me mention multiple times that because each of these accounts requires a manual audit by the finance staff, and I want to thank members of council who've actually come down and visited the finance staff and seen from their perspective some of the challenges they have within our existing system to do that audit and manual review. But again, while we do that manual review for each of the accounts that fall into that category of carrying a current delinquency, we want to make it clear that no businesses will be further harmed or be harmed by us taking that time to do that additional review. So by freezing the penalty and interest and then either affirming or getting to a restatement of balance with those businesses and being able to communicate to them individually. Again, we want them to know that, because we have heard from a lot of businesses who've heard that we are going to be reviewing accounts to know whether or not penalty and interest is going to continue to accrue while we do it. We want to be clear that that won't be the case. And our goal is to get those reviews completed by July 1st and get a message, essentially get to those businesses individually what the results of that review is. If there are some businesses that we are not able to get to by July 1st, our commitment is to proactively communicate to them and let them know that we're going to need some additional time and give them an update on that timeline. But those are kind of the two major areas. Again, we'll want to thank Ms. White and the finance department who have been going through and adding that additional review to their daily workload, as well as obviously the city attorney and her office for working with us in both our reviews and what options we have as a city within the confines of the law.
Okay. Any council members have any questions, concerns, feedback? Ms. Robertson.
I'm sorry I was late, and Lincoln and I was late together, so he ran in and jumped right in and answered questions, and I'm still trying to figure out, where are you, Ellen? What are you talking about, Mr. Saunders? And so I may not have the full benefit of what you had to say. But I have had the opportunity, like I think some of my colleagues as well have had, the opportunity to visit with your staff and with the department. And it was quite an eye-opening for me. It gave me reason to pause and to wonder what in the world are we doing and how effective we are with the equipment and the operations to be able to do the quality of work that we expect of ourselves and that we expect of the city, and that is due to every taxpayer whose money we take, with the understanding of their obligation to pay and our obligation to be sure that we are recording their payments accurately, and that the right hand kind of knows what the left hand is really doing in the process. That doesn't even touch on the citizens' concerns about what we do. Even if we are accurate in our collection and reporting, it doesn't go to our satisfying our customers, our taxpayers, with a sense of good management, good investment of their dollars to achieve the outcomes that they're paying the taxes for, okay? So I don't pay taxes on my business because it's a part of what I need to do for my business operation. I can go without paying taxes. I pay taxes to the city for a different reason. And so being satisfied that what I'm paying for, that money is being used for something that is value added to the city is a whole nother part of this conversation that we are not having. The collection and the reporting and so forth, and the work that has to be done to correct that, it appears to me it's daunting. I don't have any idea of what timeline it's going to take. I'm left with a hope that nothing will go out that is not correct in the interim while we clean it up. But because of what I experienced, I'm not comfortable that that would actually happen just because the way that our systems report or don't report to each other or automatically spit something out that we doesn't seem to be able to control that happening. So I'm not sure if I know if your response gave me any comfort with that. I know that you've made attempts to answer that on every occasion that we have asked you. But our system is just really in pretty daunting stages. And I don't know how we're going to manually be able to do the volume of work that needs to be done and not have the capacity to fix the system so that the system works for us. It's like, trying to have a mechanic underneath of my car with the hood up and trying to drive to get to the place I got to go to at the same time. So I just tell him to stay on the hood. You keep working while I drive. That's the way it feels to me. It's like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that we are doing justice to ourselves and to the taxpayer.
Well, thank you, Ms. Robertson. I'm going to turn what you said into a question that I will try to answer. But that is one of the things that I think we are most concerned about and keeping our eye on for how we manage for. The one additional kind of item that I would add is that the admission, lodging, and meals category is probably, for my dollar, the most complicated tax system we have because it is a monthly payment with it being a trust tax that's a self-reported tax. It adds a lot of additional wrinkles and complications, and it's the area where I think we are most disadvantaged in not having RVA Pay up and running and accessible as an online tool, an online system for businesses to view and be able to interact with the city in that place. So we have, under Director White, we have reprioritized our RVA Pay implementation schedule to move admission, lodging, and meals up to the front of our rollout schedule. So previously, our intent had been to deal with the real estate tax category next, or as the primary focus, given that it is our largest tax base. However, the complexity of ALM, I think, moves it up to the front of our queue of where we need this reform and implementation in soonest. We have been working to build and implement RVA Pay for several years now. These systems take a long time to build because of how they have to interface with the back-end systems of the city and in many other places. It's not like it can stand alone by itself. It has to integrate and connect into the other city systems. And so we've been working to build and design. I believe personal property tax is more or less ready for coming online. So citizens will start to see that with their personal property taxes, but next will be admission, lodging, and meals. I do believe that there has been additional steps taken by the finance team to create a kind of a meals tax review, I will say task force internally, so that as they're able to pull these threads together and hand it over to a group that's dedicated just to this sort of audit and review process, so that the team can stay focused on the RVA Pay implementation side of it as well. Happy to talk further about it, but we are, I will just say, trying to figure out how we fix the engine while driving. But the visual that you paint is concerning. And so we're trying to make sure that we don't create other kind of negative consequences by trying to do both of these things at the same time. Part of that is also the time management, which is part of why we're trying to say we're going to need additional time to conduct the audit. It's not something we're going to be able to complete in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We need additional time to that kind of July 1st area so that we don't have to stop work on our VA pay, focus on the audit and pick it back up several weeks or months later. We've got to be able to find a way to manage time to be able to keep both moving in an expeditious manner.
Can I do a follow-up? Okay, so, and I appreciate that. And yeah, when I went to your shop, I was like, my goodness, man. And I appreciate the fact of you saying, give us time to fix this problem. And that is the top priority. The only reason that the audit was requested is because we thought that would help us identify, those businesses that have not been billed correctly, I'll put it that way, or the collection correctly. And so that was the primary objective, that we felt that would be helpful instead of harmful or create other additional delays in trying to solve the immediate problem that was at hand. So I'd love to hear, I'd like to get a better assurance of appreciation that delay doesn't get us closer to resolving rather than create a hindrance in a timeline, extended timeline in resolving the challenge that is before us. And the other thing is, with the new systematic way that you're putting in place, the business community or the citizens' knowledge of it and how it works and adequate use of it, full use of it to get the full benefit of it, and the customer service that is related to that to ensure that that is happening. I'd like to know how that is factored into the rollout.
I think we can certainly provide some additional context on that. Maybe not at this forum, but at a future meeting.
Ms. Trammell, you had a question?
I'd like to know, I know this has been going on, I guess, since 2020. Some of the restaurant owners reached out to, I guess, a council person, but not to all of us. So I'd like to know what council person knew about this when all of us didn't know about it, and who was working with that council person with the problems or issues they were having with the meal tax. How come all of us were not informed, or how come all of us did not know about this was going on in 2020?
Councilman Trammell, I'm not sure I have that information or am aware specifically what you're speaking to. So I will have to either speak with you after to get additional context or be able to follow up with you after.
Well, I know there's a council person here that knew, because I was contacted after I asked a question about when, where, how, and I was told that it was a previous council person that was on council in that district that knew, and I guess it didn't get resolved. So then the other council person came in, and I guess it didn't get resolved. But it's kind of like, who knew what, when, where, how, and all of us did not know about this. That's what I have concerns about, because really, and you got restaurant owners that are saying now that some restaurant owners were treated different from others. I have a problem with that, because to me, I think any business, no matter if it's a restaurant or what it is, if they have an issue, it needs to be shared with all of us, especially something that big that we're now hearing that, like in the 4th district, a business owner was hit with $68,000 and then told if he didn't pay it, he'd be hit with another $10,000. And then I don't know if it's completely resolved or if it's still going on. And then in a 2nd district, I heard from other restaurant owners that said that it looked like certain people got treated different than the other. So kind of like, when did all this start and how come we don't have all the information? I don't think us council members have all the full information, how this happened, when, and why.
Mr.
And I want to know. I want to know because to me, that is very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. If it's been going on in 2020 and we all didn't know about it or didn't know some of it.
Councilman, I would suggest that there was, as you were aware, in 2020 and again in 2021, the city conducted 2 separate amnesty programs to try and allow businesses that had either missed payments or fall into hardship to enter into.
Lincoln,
Yes, ma'am.
I
But
don't want to go there. I don't want to go there because I'll tell you why. It looks like whatever happened from 2020 and 21, 22, whatever, it was miscommunication out there and it still has not been cleared up. And these restaurant owners got hit with high ass taxes, penalties, all of that. And I'm saying I don't know, I can't speak for them. I know I didn't know about all of it. And to me, that's a problem. I mean, and I appreciate you saying you're going to look into this because maybe you didn't know what was going on behind the scenes with the council person and with business owners. I don't know, or restaurant owners. Maybe you didn't know all of that. And now, we had this different stuff going on for different business owners or restaurant owners. And to me, that's not fair.
again, I will refrain from
talk.
getting into specifics, but I know we had several cases that essentially had gone through appeal process between 2022 and 2023, and many of those cases are ones that we have been discussing publicly for the last several weeks. And again, we're continuing to look at those who are currently in a delinquency who may have either previously filed an appeal or otherwise. We have self-identified for that review, but Ms. Ram, I'm afraid I just don't have enough context to give you, I think, what is a direct answer.
I just want to know what that council person knew and we all did not know. And what was that council person doing with the business person or the restaurant owner trying, whatever, and we all, or maybe you did not, like I said, maybe you didn't know either. To me, there's so many unanswered questions that was going on behind the scenes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Trammell.
Thank you.
Mr. Saunders, there's so much stuff that's in the media. And so that's a lot of questions have been raised. A lot of us begin concerns about the meal tax. How do we get to the resolution that was proposed in your memo? So I know a lot of those questions we all have gotten. I'm not too familiar with what Ms. Trammell, but that could be a conversation we can have separately so that you all can get your answers on that. Anybody else have any other questions?
Again, I will just say we'll do our best to continue to keep council members apprised, particularly for businesses in their district that we've gotten to resolution. And then, for those who are hearing from businesses that have a delinquency, I've had many meetings, conversations with restaurateurs and hearing about the specific cases. We're reviewing them kind of as a group now if they have a current delinquency. And we'll just continue to work through it from there. We'll try to do it as expeditiously as possible without any sort of hindrance to some of our other priorities, because at the end of the day, I would just advise council that the positive path forward is through the implementation of our VA pay, where businesses can be able to interact with their account and, on an as desired basis, be able to check their account statement, see what has processed, if there were any issues with. So again, some issues I've seen have been where they thought they made a payment and for whatever reason it wasn't processed, bounced, credit or checking account, misentered, et cetera. But then they need to know in a timely manner that has happened, and be able to resolve it with the city in a timely way.
Can you just let us know how many businesses do you all have to review their accounts? Because right now the number's 500, is that correct? Or it's got to be more?
I'll have
but-
to get you guys a direct number on
Okay.
it. I don't want to give you an estimate.
Yeah, because most of us took a tour. And so we actually saw what the department has to endure in this moment. And you're talking a couple weeks to review one account. And you're talking 500 businesses that are impacted, plus more. We're not absolutely sure, but we would like to get that number so that way we can best
Understood.
respond to the citizens.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions? Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to second report,